What's going on, people? So the other day I went over to Running Etc. It's a store around here, right? Went to look around, see about the Hyperion 3 because those came out recently. They didn't have them, but they did have these. And I wasn't planning to buy anything that day, but here we are. So down there, side of the box and all that good stuff, right? Sometimes people like to see what's going on over there. No, doesn't do a whole lot for me personally, but hey, it only takes 5 seconds out of my day. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about these things, huh? Let's do that. Yeah, this right here, the Brooks Hyperion Elite 5 in, what was this? Pink clay and Atomizer blue, I believe is what it was called the other day. I don't know. I saw it when I was doing like the live unboxing, but that was like days ago. Anyway, so that being that, ready for a review of some kind of sorts? I'm kind of ready, not super ready because I don't really know a whole lot about these, but I'll fumble my way through it. I usually do. Down there across the bottom, what are you looking at down there? Well, actually, you're looking at something that is pretty alright, That's that speed tack or whatever, like from Brooks. So it's going to give you like good traction and all that stuff, durability type things. But like not a whole lot of it because, they're just giving you just enough to get you through what you're doing. Kind of helps keeps the weight down, right? So, I got the blue patches up there and the blue patch up in the front and the 2 blue smaller ones in the back. Pretty alright. Moving on up here, midsole and all that good stuff, right? So, in the front piece, it's going to be all blue and all that stuff down there saying like DNA Gold, which is like their top tier foam right about now, right? So that's cool. And I say that with today being July 8th, 2025. And then anyways, moving on into like this middle area, right? There you can kind of see into the shoe, which is kind of cool. You can see like the carbon plate in there, right? So that's nice. Got the little foam stuff going on the sides. Moving on to the back end, just a little bit of branding. It says Hyperion Elite. Doesn't have the 5 on there for whatever reason, but hey, doesn't much matter. Real quick though, let's switch over to the inside here. See that? On the inside you still have that same thing. But this time around, if you hold it at the right angle, you can kind of see that it says SpeedVault Plus, right? So apparently, like, for this SpeedVault Plus thing, what they're doing is like each one is like customized for each size of the shoe, which I guess leads me to believe that in other shoes, other plated shoes, which are all out of reach right now. Well, here's one. Like, no, this isn't plated. Well, it is, but it's rail systems. Either way, so other plated shoes, right? It's making me think that they just took the same plate and just put that in a bunch of different shoes, like of different sizes, And this one, based on the sizing, they put a different style plate. Well, not different style, but different size plate in there, which makes a lot of sense. It really does. So either way, you got that. And for people who aren't super familiar with this, maybe you're just watching this because it's on your YouTube feed or something for some reason. Yeah. When you have the carbon plates in the running shoes, it kind of gives you like this little springs type action when you're running, right? As you're going into each step, it kind of like gets all flattened out and loaded up, Then as you go in to the next step, then it just explodes with power. You know what I'm saying? So there's the short version of that. But anyways, let's talk about some other pictures here real quick, right? So these other pictures here, they're just kind of like a little top-down sort of view, right? Give you some sort of idea of what all is going on here as far as like the visual piece. Not a whole lot really, like, because it's kind of simple with the colors. But once we get in here, you'll see it's actually like pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get on in here, huh? Down here in this little toe box area, right? So this, you can see like right through this thing for one, right? I forget exactly what they call this, but it is like going to be this like TPU thing that they're doing, some whatever that stands for. I honestly can't remember, and I'm not even going to try to pretend like I do. But either way, that's what's going on as far as material wise, right? So you can see all through there, except for around in the very front pieces, right? Because, you need a little bit of something in there for some structure and whatnot. Keep your toes kind of in line. So you got that on the front and then a little bit on the side as well. I mean, it's a common thing on most shoes anyways, right? And then moving on past that, you got like the blue with like the black Brooks logo or black Brooks naming going on there, right? Makes it stand out a good bit. And that was one of the things I liked about the Hyperion, just like that big bold branding on the side. Moving on to the rest of it, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff going on all throughout this. Then as you get to the back end, much like the front end, it does kind of solidify just a little bit in here with some extra materials and whatnot. Because, you need something to kind of help keep your heel all in check, right? So that's very cool, at least in my opinion. Speaking of the heel, I can't remember what it was, but they did do something with the way the heel is cut out in the actual shoe or whatever to kind of help with like each step and all that stuff as far as energy return and all that. But that is a thing that if I can find it, I'll have thrown something on the screen. Otherwise, you're just going to have to look it up and assume that you'll find it, because I mean, I found it and I don't look very hard for much. So anyways, moving on past that though, as far as like this back end, one thing that I didn't quite notice until I was actually messing around with these yesterday, this tab on the back, it's actually kind of stretchy, where it's like a pull tab to pull your shoes on, you know? Kind of like when you look at like the one on the back of the, what is this? The Glycerin 22. Same similar thing, you know, just with a slightly different approach. Because, you know, again, you don't want to have too much on there because you want to keep the weight down. The weight in this case being just under 7 ounces. So that's what's going on that upper piece. Back over here to the front area and all that stuff where the laces are. The laces on these are going to be like you saw on my Hyperion 2s and some various other things. And apparently the Hyperion 2 Max, right? So Hyperion Max 2? Yeah, so these right here have the same sort of laces where they have like the little grooves on there. Helps keep them from like sliding in and out and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And on the tips of those, it does have Brooks, right? Same sort of coloring in a way as you saw on the side of the shoe with the black and the blue, right? Now, behind that, going back to the tongue looks like the same as the rest of the upper does, right? Which, again, leads to like these being super light. And then when you get to the top, there they do kind of have it solidified a little bit more, like I was saying, on the back end, with a little bit of branding and all that stuff, because, you know, it's the tongue part. I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And it does have like a little bit of cushion on the back end. Not a whole lot, but like just enough to give you something that's not... Because I feel like this would be uncomfortable or whatever if you didn't have the tongue material there. I don't know. I just don't think it'd be great, especially like once you tighten up your shoes, you know? Sometimes then like it can be a little uncomfortable depending on how you tie your shoes and stuff and what kind of tongue you have. Anyways, speaking of the tongue though, on the inside of here, right? So on the outside of the shoe, the tongue is not stitched to the side, right? That's often not how these things work, at least on a lot of the higher end shoes that I've seen, or at least some of them. But then on the inside of the shoe, it is partially stitched down. Like once you get like almost like about a third of the way down there. So in case you're wondering about the tongue, if it's going to be slipping around or whatever, it looks like it's going to be staying in place pretty well. So there's going to be that. Down onto the inside real quick, I guess another shot with this whole sock liner thing. It is pretty plush back there, you know. Got a nice little bit of padding and all that stuff. Not too much, but you know, just the right amount. And then down on the inside for the insole, it's just going to be orangish color with like the Brooks, or maybe that's that pinkish color or whatever you want to call it. That's what's going on in there. So otherwise, that concludes the whole visual breakdown of this here thing. So I think that's good enough. I'm going to move on, tell you how I feel about these things as far as like my own opinion and whatnot. An honest opinion at that. And then we'll jump on into some sizing, show these things on feet, which is really all people care to see for the most part. But yeah, I get it. Hey, whatever. So, I like these. You know, when I first walked into the store, I was like, yeah, you know what? Those do look kind of weird or whatever. But then I was looking at them a little bit longer, because originally I just seen them online. I was just kind of scrolling on past. I'm like, $275? I don't think so. But, you know, whatever. So anyways, I'm looking at these in the store and I'm thinking, these do look pretty cool. Like, I like this color, you know, like this blue. It's like a cool combination. I wouldn't have thought about that really is in my mind or whatever. Just aren't colors that come to mind. But seeing them, I was like, yeah, this is cool. It's got like the see-through upper, which I'm a big fan of, you know. And so I was looking at it and now, like, going through, taking all the pictures and stuff, getting like more acquainted with these things and reading some stuff online. Like, yeah, like this is, I like these visually. Like, I've got no complaints. Like, that part I was already sold on. But now I'm looking more forward to actually like getting out and wearing these things, because there's a lot of stuff going on in here that just, it can't not work out well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to breaking these things out hopefully tomorrow, because I got a Saucony based event today. So I'll be wearing something else today, but tomorrow's open to whatever I want to do. So that's probably what that'll do until that Gaslight Anthem show later. Then probably have to switch shoes. But either way, so yeah, I'm liking these. The visual's really cool. I feel like they're going to work out in a great way too. But you know, I'll follow up on that at some other point. But anyway, so for now, right? Let's go ahead, knock out some sizing, comfort, and all that good stuff, and then be done. Sizing wise, right? I bought these in a 9.5. You know, I was a little skeptical at first, you know, because the last like high end type thing I bought of this style, the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, didn't quite work out true to size. But I tried them on. That's the advantage of going in stores or whatever. Tried them on. They worked out perfectly. I did try on the 10 as well, just in case, just to see like, does this happen to feel any better? No, it didn't. Like the dimensions wise, left to right, were honestly about the same. But like the length was like, okay, I don't need this extra length in here. That's just unnecessary, right? Because the thing is, when you first slip something on, sometimes with something like this, you know, you stand up and then your feet will slip forward a little bit based on the heel drop or whatever. Heel drop on these being, what's it, like 8? Yeah, it's 40 in the back, 32 in the front. Yeah, so it's fairly level, unlike some of those 10s and 12s of other things, right? So that wasn't a factor. So it led to these still feeling like really nice. And even still, like you do have a little bit of extra room in here to wiggle around with. So I think that true to size is going to work out for most people. Now, past that, walking around in these, it's not ideal, right? They do feel better than those Adios Pro 4s and various other things, sure. But it's kind of like a crazy foam under here, right? That is not really made for walking around in. These are best left on the tracks. It's just if you put these on and you feel like, I don't know about that. Like, well, wait till you get out and you start running in these, then you'll feel something. And I haven't done that yet, but just taking a quick little jog through the store, you could definitely feel like the energy, like just straight up out of these things. It was pretty crazy. So I'm really looking forward to breaking these things out. Like I said, hopefully that'll be tomorrow. That's the plan as of right now. We'll see if things change in the next 24 hours, but we'll see. I'm going to go with that being the thing and then doing some sort of follow-up or whatever after the fact. But yeah, things are looking promising on these things right here. So very cool, very cool. You might be wondering how these shoes played out for me after like going around running in them and all that good stuff, right? So luckily, I guess, since I was so slow to make this review, I actually had time to do the follow-up review as well. So the plan is to have these both go up right around the same time. So that way, if you watch the main thing, you can then also watch the short thing and get the whole picture. Not thrilled about that price, but I mean, I get it. You know, you put a lot of stuff, a lot of research and development goes into things. You know, you're switching out plates based on different shoes or whatever. Maybe I'm just trying to justify this cost to myself. I think that's all that's going on. For me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Got some other shoes to talk about. Which ones here? Oh yeah, doing some follow-up reviews on the Glycerin 22 GTS that time around, and the Ghost Max 2, which is weird because I just talked about a Ghost Max 2. Later, people.